ready to go underground.
Always up for an adventure, especially one that takes us beneath the surface.
Well, today's deep dive is all about tunnels. Specifically, the world's longest railway tunnels.
Oh, those engineering marvels. Yeah, I'm in.
I knew you'd be game. I gotta say, even I was mind blown by the scale of these projects. Imagine boring through mountains, under seabeds. It's crazy.
It really is. I mean, we're not just talking about digging holes in the ground, right? This is serious engineering, pushing the limits of what's possible.
Exactly. So to really grasp the enormity of these projects, let's start with the current champion, the Gotthard Base Tunnel in Switzerland.
The Gotthard, a true titan of the tunnel world.
It clocks in at a staggering 57 kilometers. That's longer than a marathon. Can you even fathom the amount of rock they had to excavate?
It boggles the mind, doesn't it? But the Gotthard is more than just a record breaker. It's a game changer for transportation across Europe. Think about it. This tunnel cuts travel time through the Alps significantly, which has a huge impact on trade and freight efficiency.
So it's not just about connecting 2 points, right? It's about streamlining trade and travel on a continental scale.
That's amazing. But the Gotthard wasn't always the longest, was it?
You're right. Before the Gotthard, the title belonged to the Seikan Tunnel in Japan. For almost 3 decades, it held the record. The Seikan Tunnel, connecting the islands of Honshu and Hokkaido, it always intrigued me because a significant portion of it runs under the seabed. That's got to be tricky, right?
Building a tunnel underwater? Oh, it's a whole different ballgame. Imagine the immense water pressure, the unpredictable geological conditions, the constant threat of water ingress. Talk about challenging.
I read somewhere that they used a massive undersea robot for part of the construction. What was that about?
Ah, yes. The robot. A marvel of engineering in itself. It was a custom-built, remotely operated machine used to excavate the seabed and lay the tunnel lining. Pioneering technology, really.
Wow. Just imagine the ingenuity it takes to design and operate something like that in such a demanding environment. It really highlights the incredible level of innovation involved in these projects.
Absolutely. And we can't forget about another iconic tunnel, the Channel Tunnel, or the Channel, as it's affectionately known, connecting England and France. It was a huge deal when it opened, almost like a global celebration. Do you remember?
Oh, absolutely. I remember it vividly. It felt like a giant leap forward, a symbol of connection and unity. Thinking about the Channel Tunnel, it makes me wonder about the complexities involved in these mega projects. The political and logistical hurdles must be enormous, especially when you're dealing with international borders.
You hit the nail on the head. Large-scale infrastructure projects, especially those that cross borders, face all sorts of challenges: political, economic, logistical, negotiating agreements, securing funding, coordinating construction efforts across different countries. It can take years, sometimes decades, to get these projects off the ground.
I bet. The Channel Tunnel, for example, had its fair share of delays and setbacks, didn't it?
It certainly did. Funding issues, political disagreements. It wasn't a smooth ride by any means. But in the end, they pulled it off. It's a testament to what's possible when there's a shared vision and a commitment to collaboration.
Makes you appreciate the perseverance and diplomacy required to turn these ambitious visions into reality. Okay, so we've covered the top 3, the titans of the tunnel world. But you know what's really interesting? The tunnels that don't always get the same fanfare, but are still incredibly impressive.
Oh, I know what you mean. The unsung heroes of the tunnel world. The ones that might not break records, but are still engineering marvels in their own right.
Like the Yulyeon Tunnel in South Korea. Did you know it's almost as long as the Channel Tunnel? It's a vital part of South Korea's high-speed rail network.
The Yulyeon Tunnel, yeah, it's over 50 kilometers long. It's a beast. And you've touched upon an important point here. The rise of high-speed rail has really fueled tunnel construction, wouldn't you say?
It seems that way, right? Almost every tunnel we've discussed is connected to high-speed rail in some way. Is there a reason for that?
Think about it. High-speed trains need straight, level tracks to achieve those incredible speeds. And tunnels, they're the perfect solution for overcoming those pesky geographical obstacles, like mountains or valleys. It's all about speed, efficiency, minimizing travel time.
So tunnels are essential for unlocking the full potential of high-speed rail. That makes perfect sense. And when you look at where these long tunnels are located, you start to see a pattern. Countries like Switzerland, Japan, and China, they seem to be leading the charge in tunnel construction.
It's all about adapting to their environment, wouldn't you say? They got mountains, islands, challenging terrain. Tunnels are their way of connecting regions and overcoming those geographical limitations. It's necessity driving innovation.
It's like they're shaping the future of transportation in their own unique ways. I'm looking at this list, and the Hakoda Tunnel in Japan caught my eye. It's part of a high-speed line that runs through some pretty intense terrain, right?
The Hakoda Mountains are known for heavy snowfall and rugged landscapes. It's a tough environment, but the Hakoda Tunnel cuts right through it, showcasing Japan's commitment to developing efficient transportation networks, even in the face of adversity.
It's pretty awe-inspiring, isn't it? When you consider the scale of these projects and the dedication of the people involved, just imagine the teams working for years, deep underground, to make these things happen.
It's a testament to human collaboration and perseverance. I mean, you need a diverse team to build a tunnel of this magnitude. Geologists, engineers, construction workers, and countless others all working together towards a common goal.
And it's not just the construction phase, right?
Yeah.
Once these tunnels are operational, they need constant monitoring and maintenance.
You've got ventilation systems, lighting, communication networks. It's a complex operation that requires ongoing attention and expertise.
It's like there's an entire hidden world beneath our feet, working tirelessly to keep everything running smoothly. I'm curious, though, are there any particularly fascinating stories or anecdotes from the construction of these tunnels?
Yeah.
Something that captures the human side of these mega projects?
Oh, there are countless stories full of ingenuity, resilience, even humor. Like, did you know that during the construction of the Gothard Base Tunnel, they held a celebratory walk through the tunnel before it officially opened? Thousands of people, workers and local residents, donned hard hats and walked the entire 57 kilometers.
Wow, that must have been an incredible experience, a real sense of accomplishment and community.
It really was. It's easy to get lost in the numbers, the lengths, the depths, the costs. But these projects are ultimately about people, about the human stories behind these engineering marvels.
Well said. Okay, so we've explored the big names, the record breakers. Now let's dive into some of those lesser-known but equally impressive tunnels on our list. What can you tell us about the Lötschberg Base Tunnel in Switzerland?
The Lötschberg, well, it may not be as long as the Gothard, but at over 34 kilometers, it's still a significant piece of infrastructure. And it's another vital part of that new railway link through the Alps.
So Switzerland is really committed to this tunnel thing, huh?
Oh, yeah, they are. And for good reason. But that's a story for our next segment.
So Switzerland is really committed to this tunnel thing, huh?
They are. It's all about geography, really.
Geography.
Switzerland, is a very mountainous country, and tunnels, well, they offer a way to kind of bypass those natural barriers.
To create more efficient transportation routes.
You got it.
Yeah.
And the Lötschberg, much like the Gothard, helps move both passengers and freight through the Alps much faster and more efficiently, which of course boosts the Swiss economy and it strengthens their connections to neighboring countries.
It makes you realize these tunnels, they're not just these incredible feats of engineering, they're really economic drivers too.
Oh, absolutely. And their impact reaches far beyond just the immediate region.
Give me an example.
Sure. So the Lötschberg Base Tunnel, it's part of a much larger European rail network. And this network is helping to shift freight transport from trucks to trains, which is fantastic for the environment.
Less carbon emissions, right?
Exactly. So it's not just about connecting regions, it's about connecting them in a more sustainable way.
Now that you mention connecting regions, I know Spain has been investing a lot in their high-speed rail.
They have.
What can you tell us about the Guadarrama Tunnel there?
The Guadarrama Tunnel, it's a big one. Nearly 28 kilometers long, and it's a key component of Spain's high-speed rail network. Connects Madrid with Valladolid.
So how do they use tunnels to achieve those high speeds?
Well, in this case, they bored right through the Guadarrama Mountains to create a straighter, more level path for those trains.
And that allows them to reach some pretty impressive speeds, I imagine.
Up to 350 kilometers per hour.
Wow, that's flying.
It is.
So we're seeing a pattern here, aren't we? It's not just about the length of these tunnels. It's about how they're designed to optimize for speed and efficiency.
Exactly. And you'll notice this with many of the tunnels on our list. They're not just about connecting point A to point B. It's about connecting them as quickly and efficiently as possible. And that's often as part of a high-speed rail network.
It's fascinating to see how tunnel construction is shaping the future of transportation.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that Switzerland, Japan, and China are really leading the way in tunnel construction.
They are.
But what about other countries? Are there any up-and-coming projects we should be keeping an eye on?
Definitely. I mean, those three countries are certainly at the forefront, but tunnel construction is booming globally.
Any particular projects come to mind?
Well, Italy, for example, is currently working on the Brenner Base Tunnel.
The Brenner Base Tunnel?
Yep, and when it's finished, it'll be the longest underground railway connection in the world, even longer than the Gothard.
Wow. Another record breaker in the making. What's the significance of this one?
Well, it's going to create a much more efficient rail link between Italy and Austria, which will further strengthen those transportation networks across Europe. And it also shows just how far tunnel boring technology has come, you know? Engineers can tackle increasingly complex and ambitious projects.
It seems like we're constantly pushing the limits of what's possible with these projects.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just about length either. Engineers are exploring new methods, new materials to build tunnels faster, safer, and with less environmental impact.
Speaking of stories, you mentioned earlier there are countless stories from these construction sites. Got any that come to mind?
Oh, so many. One that always fascinates me is the story of the mole they used to build the Channel Tunnel.
The mole.
Yeah, it's a nickname for the tunnel boring machines. They were absolute beasts, over 8 meters in diameter and weighed over 1,000 tons each.
Wow. What an incredible feat of engineering just to build those machines.
They were incredibly powerful, and they needed incredible precision, too. I mean, think about it. They had to make sure that the tunnels they were boring from the English side and the French side met perfectly in the middle, under the seabed. A remarkable feat of coordination.
Absolutely mind-blowing when you think about it. A real testament to the ingenuity and collaborative spirit of everyone involved.
Couldn't agree more. And it reminds us that these projects are so much more than just digging holes in the ground. It's about pushing the boundaries of human ingenuity, connecting communities, and building a more interconnected and efficient world.
Okay, so we've talked about the challenges, the technology, the human stories, and the impact on transportation. But what about the environmental impact? How do these mega projects affect the environment?
That's a crucial question, and it's something that engineers are increasingly focused on. I mean, tunnels, by their very nature, involve excavating huge amounts of earth and rock, right?
Yeah.
So there's always the potential for environmental disruption. But these days, there's a big push to mitigate those impacts.
What are some of the ways they're trying to do that?
Well, reducing waste is a big one. Many projects now have strategies in place to reuse or recycle that excavated material. That way they minimize the need for landfills. And are also focused on reducing the disruption to ecosystems during construction.
How so?
Well, careful planning and routing of access roads, for example, can help to protect those sensitive habitats.
So it's all about finding that balance, right, between the benefits of infrastructure development and the need to protect the environment.
That's it. And that balance is only going to become more important as we think about the future of tunnel construction, the demand for efficient and sustainable transportation. That's only going to grow. And that means we need tunnels that are not only engineering marvels, but also environmentally responsible.
Okay, so we've talked about engineering challenges, logistics. But earlier, you hinted at the impact that these tunnels have on the communities they connect. Can we dig into that a little bit more? I'm curious to understand how those subterranean pathways kind of ripple out into the world above.
Of course. I think it's easy to get caught up in the impressive engineering and the sheer scale of these projects. But the true measure of their success, it's the impact they have on people's lives.
In what ways?
Well, it can be economic growth, it can be cultural exchange, even something as simple as making it easier for people to visit family and friends in another region.
Let's start with the economic impact. How do these tunnels contribute to the economies of the regions they connect?
Well, think about the Gothard Base Tunnel, for example. It's significantly reduced travel times between Switzerland and Italy, and it's really fostered those economic ties. Businesses can transport goods more efficiently. Tourism gets a boost because travel is easier. And it creates new opportunities for trade and investment.
So it's not just about getting people and goods from point A to point B faster. It's about creating a more interconnected and dynamic economic landscape.
Exactly. And you see this impact on a smaller scale, too. Imagine a tunnel that connects a remote mountain village to a major city. Suddenly, that village has better access to markets, to healthcare, to education. It opens up so many opportunities.
It's amazing to think about these tunnels, often hidden beneath the surface, having such a profound impact on lives and livelihoods.
It is.
What about cultural exchange? How do tunnels contribute to that?
Tunnels make travel easier, they make it easier for people to cross borders, and that can really help break down those cultural barriers and foster greater understanding. The Channel Tunnel is a great example.
Also,
It's played a significant role in promoting cultural exchange between the UK and mainland Europe.
it's like they're creating bridges not just physically, but culturally.
Exactly. And this goes beyond the big projects like the Channel Tunnel. Even a smaller tunnel connecting two neighboring towns can have a huge impact, fostering closer ties, building a sense of community.
It's incredible to think about all those ripple effects. It makes you realize these infrastructure projects are about so much more than concrete and steel.
Right. They're about connecting people, creating opportunities, and shaping the future.
It really is amazing how these tunnels can be these catalysts for growth and exchange, sometimes in ways we might not even expect.
It is, and it's exciting to think about what the future of tunnel construction holds, right? I mean, imagine underwater tunnels that connect entire continents.
Or Hyperloop system.
Yeah, like those vacuum-sealed tubes that could transport passengers at incredible speeds.
It sounds like something out of science fiction.
It does, doesn't it? But knowing how far we've come, it wouldn't surprise me at all to see those ideas become reality someday.
I agree. But while we're dreaming about those futuristic concepts, it's important to remember that innovation isn't just about breaking records or those technological marvels. It's about sustainability, too.
Right. It's about finding ways to build these tunnels so they have the least impact on the environment and maximizing the benefit for communities.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into this world of tunnels, I have to say, I'm in awe of the ingenuity, the sheer ambition of these projects. But I also feel a sense of responsibility.
You know what I mean?
We have to make sure that as we push the boundaries with tunnel construction, we're doing it in a way that benefits both people and the planet.
Well said. These subterranean marvels, they're not just feats of engineering. They represent human ingenuity. They're a symbol of our desire to connect, to overcome challenges, and to create a more interconnected world. And it's crucial that we approach these projects responsibly as we move forward, making sure they contribute to a more sustainable and equitable future for everyone.
It's been a fascinating journey exploring these underground wonders. I have one last question for you, and for everyone listening too.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
If you could travel through any of these tunnels, which one would it be and why? Would it be that record-breaking Gothard Base Tunnel, maybe for the speed and efficiency? Or the Channel Tunnel, connecting those two nations and cultures? What about the Saycan, with that journey under the sea?
That's a tough one. Each tunnel has its own unique appeal, but if I had to choose, I think I'd go with the Gothard Base Tunnel. The engineering is just mind-boggling, and I'd love to experience traveling through the heart of the Alps at those speeds.
I can see the appeal in that. For me, I think I'd go with the Channel Tunnel. There's something romantic about that idea, traveling under the sea, connecting those two countries that were once separated by water. It's a reminder that we can overcome seemingly impossible barriers.
That's a great choice, and it shows how these tunnels can connect us not just physically in terms of space, but culturally too, building those bridges between people.
So, as you go about your day, take a moment to think about that hidden world beneath our feet. These tunnels, they're more than just passages. They're symbols of human ingenuity and perseverance, our quest to connect and explore. Thanks for joining us in this deep dive into the world of the longest railway tunnels. We'll see you next time.